From The Light from the Inside in Redlands, I'm Leo Fontes with The Footsteps of My Life. Many are the stories around the world of people whose life ends in tragedy, while for others, perhaps smaller in number than these, they find grace in the eyes of the Lord, and He uses different measures to rescue them and save them from their life struggles. And then a beautiful and almost unbelievable change is seen in their lives. In this episode, I talk with Brother Isaias Martinez from the Light of the World Church, who, as a teenager, found himself in gangs, tangled with law enforcement, and by his mid-20s, heavily into drugs where he overdosed 5 times, waking up once in a psychiatric hospital, handcuffed to a bed, not knowing if he had harmed anyone. Be sure to listen through to the end to hear how God worked in his life, and most specifically, how the Light of the World Church impacted not only his life, but that of his families, allowing them all to see and experience a beautiful change of life. Our conversation started as a, quote, preliminary meeting, unquote, where I tried to extract from him only some key talking points to better prepare myself for the actual podcast recording. But by the time we were done, it was obvious that what fortunately was recorded needed to be shared with the entire world. Because God is great, and His marvelous works must be shared. Please leave your comments and reviews, and don't forget to subscribe and follow this podcast, where you'll be able to hear more great stories like the one you're about to hear in this unintended episode. So when we reconnect to do the actual podcast, I'll do a slight intro of yourself, myself, yourself, the show, what it's about. But I want to have some talking points. So I just took some notes of some of the things that you've already mentioned in our previous conversations.
Yes.
To include, on one of your last recordings, you said you overdosed multiple times prior to coming to the church. You remember waking up in a psychiatric hospital one time, handcuffed to a bed, and you've been shot at and chased with knives.
Yes.
So was that all gang-related activity?
Gang-related activity. The one chase, yes, it was. The one shot, also it was gang-related with drug activity. And then those other 2, the ODs and all that, were mainly times that I was at my lowest point in life, and it happened. One occasion, when I woke up in a psych hospital, that was separately from waking up, shackled up to the hospital bed, waking up and realizing that, wait, what happened? What did I do? Why am I shackled up? I had all these tubes everywhere on my body, all these monitors. And it's just it was a scary feeling, a scary thought, not knowing why you're shackled, who did you kill, what happened, you just don't know. So many things just run in your mind, 2 times of shackled up like that. And the other times I managed to escape because I wasn't shackled to the bed. So, yes.
Okay. I don't want you to give me the story right now, and I'm not saying that you are. I don't want you to give it to me and all the detail, because I want to save that for the show. I just want to know how to prompt you, and we talked about this, so can you tell me more about that,
Yes.
So that's kind of what I want to capture here. Was your gang affiliation like in LA area, or?
It was in the Santa Maria, area.
Oh, okay.
Yes, the Santa Maria area.
Okay.
And I don't really have to worry about anything, because obviously, I wasn't, I was in it, but then at the same time, I wasn't deep in it to where I thought it was my life,
Okay.
So, but I know what it is to be in it, and to put in work so that you can get recognized.
Right.
Pero no, besides that, there's really nothing that I need to really hold back on, as far as the drug activity wasn't part of that. It was part of my own doing,
Okay.
wanting to be, my own dealer and whatnot, or, you know,
Right.
but it wasn't, nothing that had to do with anything like that in the mafia or nothing like that, which, I thank God that it didn't happen like that.
Yeah.
And there's other people that get really deep in and they're in the mafia. So, and those things you can't really speak out.
Yeah. So I'm not going to ask you if you were dealing or anything like that, but you obviously were consuming, which led to the overdoses. How many times did you overdose, brother?
I overdosed 5 times.
5 times. Wow.
Times, brother, yes, 5 times. And,
Wow.
um, on a different note, I was, when I think about, okay, I think about I have a cousin that, we both were born we got had the blessing to be born in church, but,
Yeah.
we
Oh, you were
both,
born in church.
I was born in church. I
Oh,
was born
wow.
in church and I was away from church for a lot of years.
Okay. So, because I was putting in my notes here that before you converted to the church, but you were born in the church.
I was
Okay.
born in the church. Um,
Okay. So let me ask you then, at what age did you leave the church?
Before I was roughly around when I was 12, 13, because the
Mm,
time came when you have the blessing to either choose the path of the Lord,
yeah,
it's not forced.
I know that.
I didn't want to, because I knew
Yeah.
how to commit. I had to give my life to the Lord and I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't ready to be real with the
Yeah.
Lord. I was, you know, so, um, Miss Ali, and then it's crazy because, I was born in church. I started doing my the gang and whatnot. And then in the older
Hmm.
age, I got into the drugs,
Okay.
and that went really bad. And, um, I went into church and then again, because working too much, leaving the church, not listening to prayers, not feeding my soul, things came and I get straight away from the Lord, brother, and
So when you came, I'm sorry, brother. When you came back, how old were you? The first time
the
that you
first
did?
time I was roughly about, I want to say 18.
Wow. I'm laughing because it's a similar story to my own. When my dad left the church, I was 13. When I came back to the church by myself, I was 18.
Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, we
Uh,
could relate to.
well, and that's going to make the conversation so much more interesting, to be able to relate like that and hold a conversation like that. So you came back at 18, and then how long do you think you were in the church before you drifted off again?
I was roughly around, in my 25,
Okay.
24.
And then from there, that's when you got into the drugs and the gangs
The
after the second
gang,
thing?
well, no, the gangs was in my earlier part of life.
Oh,
In my
okay.
later part of life, when I was in no more in the gangs,
Uh huh.
I went into the drugs. I got, it just from one thing led to another. Like I said, you start going to church and, um, U.S. I started by smoking a cigarette,
Yeah.
which it didn't seem like much, and at the moment, but I started by,
You know what, brother? All that's going to be very good for the youth to hear,
yes,
too.
right, right, right.
All that's going to be so good for, whoever hears it. Even the adults, because, there's some adults weak in their faith and they think, well, I'm just going to go have a drink.
Right.
I don't remember now the details, but I mean, that all starts from I'm going to have a cigarette or I'm going to have a
Yes.
drink, or I'm
Yes.
not going to go to church today, and it's
Correct.
like, it reminds me of that song all the time, Suave es el engaño, y
Yes.
necia es la pasión. It's just that little bit of separation, but at the distance, it it widens, and
Yes, it does.
that's crazy.
It starts, like you said, it starts with the cigarette. I remember, trying to come back to church. I was on the, like I said, I was really bad, and it started with the cigarette,
Yeah.
but I ended up doing all the way to heroin and methadone. To get away from heroin, I used methadone, and what happened was that I dug myself out of a deep hole, which was heroin,
Uh-huh.
to dig myself into a deeper hole, which was methadone, because now it was pretty much free, and it was harder to leave because it was legal, it just it's a synthetic, pretty much synthetic heroin,
Mm.
and it that, including that, and the medication I was buying in the streets and taking, that's where the ODs came.
Okay.
Yes, it was just a
Okay.
mixture, what they call cocktail, mixture of
Yeah.
everything. With that, with meth, with cocaine, with everything that I could put my hands on, brother.
Yeah.
Um,
Um. And I'm afraid about asking you more because I don't want to take away from the actual interview. But I'm wondering if trying to forget about your life in the church or serving God was
yes.
part of the reason that fueled that, or I mean, besides regular problems that you were going through in your life at that age, was a part of it trying to forget about church and block that out of your mind, or was that not even an issue? That
No, because, well, when I was out there, I knew deep down inside that I knew where to get the help. It wasn't through the programs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I knew that God was the only way.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
and so the issue wasn't really about me, forgetting about church, because that was at least of my
Oh, okay.
what I wanted is to go back in, but
Yeah.
now I had so much things going on,
Now
and it was hard to
you were a slave.
play for the enemy. Yes,
You were chained down. Yeah.
chained up,
Yeah.
completely chained up, brother. Nothing. I mean,
Yeah.
in order for a judge to tell me, you know what, he said, yes, the Prop 36, he's a drug court. When it first came out, he's like, you know what, he said, yes, I should just get the key and throw it away, because you're never gonna change.
Yeah.
You're a drug addict and all these, because so many times that I was getting drug tested and dirty tests, getting time in jail, and programs and after programs, and none of that helped me because
Yeah.
it wasn't. There wasn't
Yeah.
no other way, brother. None of
Yeah.
that. The jail, the time, you get used to the time.
Yeah.
You learn how to do time.
Yeah.
But when you get out, then you're you're like a animal out of the cage. You just
Yeah.
want to do everything, and
Yep.
so
It's crazy what freedom does to a
yeah.
person. It reminds me of sometimes when we fail the Lord spiritually and we're put on this like a spiritual trial period with us and the Lord, and we pass that trial period and the minister tells us, okay, you're good, you're good now, just keep serving the Lord. But sometimes that weight off your back and that spiritual liberty and freedom, sometimes it's taken the wrong way, and immediately you see the brother or the sister fall right back into what they just got off of,
Just got out of.
I've seen that. Yeah. And I can relate. I mean, what I went through is nothing at all like what you're describing. But I remember during the recent housing market crash, it got to me really bad because I was going to school. I had just started school. I had a good paying job. We had our house and our 2 vehicles that we were paying on. And all of a sudden it caught up to my job and I found myself laid off, and what scared me was that I knew that the industry which I was in, which was window manufacturing, that there was going to be no jobs for that anywhere because that's the main market that was crashing.
Especially,
And so I started stressing, what type of job am I going to find? And to me, I say there were good reasons because my concerns about a new job that I was going to find, I didn't want to travel like from Redlands to LA area or whatever, because my thought is traffic. The traffic's going to prevent me from going to my prayers, right? I thought I don't want to move in with my other family member that's not going to church because there's drinking, there's partying going on, and I want to expose my family to that. So another good reason.
right?
And I'm thinking like, what job's going to pay me enough to make it to our trips to the Holy Supper in August, and everything I was concerned about. To me, there were good reasons, and it started, I started stressing out, and my anxiety it got so bad, and I was going to a doctor at the health clinic, and she kept telling me, you gotta take this medication, it's for depression or anxiety or something, and I kept telling myself in my mind, I was like, I don't need that. That's not what I need. I need prayer, I need to just go cry it out to the Lord,
Yes, yes,
And I mean, I wasn't far from the church. I hadn't left the path of the Lord, but I knew exactly what it was that I needed. And it was just even though I hadn't fully understood it at the time, because even the minister at that time, I had cried to him so many times that he told me, Brother Leo, I don't know what to advise you no more. It's like you've worn me out. You've come so many times. I don't know what else to advise you. And I remember he kept telling me, you think that your problem is you think that a job is going to be the answer to your problems, and it's not. And I think like, how could that not be? That's what I need, a job. And so I didn't understand it until the Lord opened my understanding. And that happened when, if you remember the big earthquake in Chile that the servant of God, Brother Samuel, went to, and he spoke to the Universal Church there in the transmission, and basically told us that when the Lord allows bad things to happen to us, it's a good thing, because sometimes it's not until then that we realize how much we need the Lord in our life, And I remember that was my turning point, because the Lord opened my understanding, and before that transmission was over, I was like, well, what I need to do here is just totally put all of this on the Lord and just forget it and accept whatever he's going to send me and be content with it and just, carry on and move on. Well, I remember, brother, that when we got out of that prayer, there were a few brothers that had noticed that change in me and had told me, Brother Leo, you look so happy, you look so content. And that's what it was. I hadn't fully comprehended that I needed to put all my trust in the Lord and not just partially, and I suffered longer than perhaps the Lord intended me to or wanted me to, but that was on me, because I just couldn't let go. It's like that country song, I forget her name, but she says, Jesus, take the wheel. It's like you gotta just let go and just let the Lord, whatever's in his plan. And when I finally did, I found everything I was worried about, brother. I found it at this job where I'm still at today by the grace of God. I've been there a little more than 10 years.
Wow.
Right here in Redlands. It's close enough where I can walk to work, so I don't have to get on the freeway and get stuck in traffic. I have weekends off. I think when I got the job 10 years ago, it was in June, and they had already given me a time off to go in August, even though I was a new employee, They were giving me time off, so that wasn't an issue. I couldn't go because I couldn't afford it, being new on the job and having been out of work for so long. But still, that wasn't an issue,
Right.
It allowed me to be in all my prayers, allowed me to stay in my house, didn't lose anything but sleep, I think. Yeah, but and how did this happen? This was supposed to be about you, not me, and I just switched the table.
Well, everything, it's nice because, everything that you were worried about, everything that you were concerned about. Look at how God is great,
Yeah.
He, it just, it's like you said, when God's timing is perfect. God's timing is perfect. And, I remember, like you said, that came, that understanding when it came, it changed you. The brothers noticed it in you,
Yeah.
I mean, I recall when, because even when I just moved to South Carolina, and the Apostle Jesus Christ was going into his hiras, everywhere, and, I was just tired, brother, of living. I was tired of with my family, where my family had already, my kids, my daughter telling me, Dad, um, I'm tired, I can't no more. I can't support you no more. You
Yeah.
need to let go.
Yeah.
You need to let go. You're gonna lose me as well. Those
Yeah.
words, brother, hurt me so much. That I carry them to this day, only because it reminds me where the Lord took me out of. And
Yeah.
and it was that moment that I'll tell you exactly what when the Lord opened my understanding was when I know you remember when the Apostle Jesus Christ was taking a presentation, and he started talking, the need of having God in people's lives,
Mm-hmm.
and then he started talking about, he's like, there's this one famous, they call him the King of Rock,
Oh,
and
yeah.
he started mentioning, how he had everything, but then he had nothing.
Yeah.
He had everything that a man could desire in this world,
Yeah.
material, the looks, he had the respect, he had the women,
Yeah.
he had the houses, but though, when he would get home, he would drug himself up because he felt lonely.
Yeah.
He felt empty, And I remember, brother, that when the Apostle Jesus Christ said that, I was like, he opened my understanding where, I said to myself, I'm not rich like that person. I'm not famous like that person. But one thing I do share with that person was the emptiness, the hollowness I felt in my heart. All
Yeah.
the drugs. Now I understand why was I getting OD, because I was trying to feel what couldn't be filled with the drugs.
Yeah.
What only God was able to do in my
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
And from that day forward, brother, like you said, I was a whole different man,
Yeah.
There's that hymn that says, everybody, todo el mundo abre la Biblia,
Yeah.
pero un apóstol me abrió el corazón.
Yeah. That's beautiful, brother.
And
That's
that
beautiful.
right there, brother, that right there is like, that's, and one thing led to another. After that
Yeah.
presentation, he talked about the faith.
Yeah.
The faith, you cannot, la fe no se engendra de padres a hijos.
Yeah.
And then again, again in my heart, that's why I was never understanding of the things of God, because why is it that you go to church? What the first prayer, the second prayer,
Yeah.
because the man of God started saying, when I used to go to church, my parents, that the care that they had was I had to write up who got up to sing,
Oh, yeah.
what
Yeah.
text,
I remember that. Yeah.
right? And he
Yeah.
started, and then he thought, and I was like thinking, you see, if they would have had a little bit of that care,
Yeah.
because reason why I said this, because the reason I don't have tattoos now is
Mm-hmm.
because my dad one time sat me and my brother, my twin brother, together. He told me, and he opened up. He's like, kids, I want to sit down. Come sit down. We were, man. I mean, I was probably about 7 years old. He said, sit down. Quiero hacer unas preguntas, mijo. Véngase. So we were sitting. I remember that's one of the only times I remember my dad actually taking time to let us evangelize to us.
Yeah.
So, okay, he said, okay, what would you do? I want to ask you, what would you do if somebody came inside your house and start writing on the walls, breaking the windows? Well, as a kid, we'd be like, man, Dad, we'll beat them up,
Yeah.
we'll beat them up, Dad. Okay, pues, te quiero decir, mijos, que tu cuerpo no les pertenece a ustedes. Su cuerpo es el templo del Espíritu Santo, y Dios se le ofende uno a Dios si uno escribe, things on the
Yeah.
body. So
Yeah.
it was really plain and simple,
Yeah.
but because of that, brother, till this day, I thank God and the apostle and
Yeah.
my dad that took that
Yeah.
time that little bit of time, but it made
Yeah.
a whole difference in my life, brother.
Even when you were far away from the path of the Lord.
Yes.
Even when you were under the influence of drugs.
Yes, brother.
And with the
Yes, brother.
gangs. Yeah.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
Yes, brother.
It's beautiful.
So it's it's just you know, blessings like that, you know, like you said, you know, yeah, you might not have, you yourself have not been where where I was, and you know, at one time, but still, you were still the lack of God in your in our lives.
Yeah.
You know, brought trouble. It brought sadness. It brought hurt. You know, it brought
Right.
a lot of things. And into, like you say, when God opened that understanding,
Yeah.
and look at where you're at now. Look at where I'm at now. You know,
Yeah.
without deserving it, brother. You know,
Yeah.
without us deserving of His mercy and His grace. You know.
Yeah. That's another reason why the songs, the hymns that we sing in church, they're, you know, a lot of times besides ourselves, you know, and we see many different members of the church, how they're moved by what they're singing because of perhaps their life experience. And there's many songs, but one that comes to my mind is the song that you know, its lyrics reads, "Oh how sad is the life of is the oh how sad is the life of the member who leaves the path of the Lord." You know,
Right,
there's
right,
never happiness, there's never joy, there's never security, there's never nothing that, you know, no peace, like, you know, like Jesus Christ said, it's of this world. There's nothing, like you mentioned and recalled about what the Apostle Lord said about the king of rock and roll, you know,
yes,
even with all the wealth that he had in the world, we can say that the world was basically his, you know, as far as the
yes,
fans and the followers and the supporters. But even with all that, at the end of the day, he'd go to bed with a great emptiness in
yes,
his heart, you know,
sadness,
and to be able to be here today, having been recipients of the mercy of God, to have come to the knowledge of the truth as we know it,
yes,
it's such a beautiful life that even in now
amen,
in our struggles and our hard times, that, you know, we can still cry in prayer of happiness.
yes,
Besides the sorrowful tears of whatever hardship we're going through,
yes,
there's still, even though we don't have the answer that we are praying for, we still at the end of the day go to sleep with an assurance and a
yes,
sense of safety, because like the apostle of the Lord's told us, you know, we're literally in the palm of God's hand, you know,
amen,
and
yes,
it's such
yes,
a beautiful life. Well, brother, I'm going to end it here. And so when we'll reschedule it, because there's going to be others similar to yourself that give similar testimonies.
yes,
A theme or a label that I wanted to give like this series of episodes would be, I came up with the footsteps of my life.
nice,
You know, kind of looking backwards.
yes,
You know, it reminds me of that other song that we sing, how beautiful it is to look back and see where the Lord has saved us from, you know. Qué grato es llevar
el
en el
alma,
alma un recuerdo. Yeah, to
yes,
remember,
yes,
not to reminisce on what the flesh might consider good times, but to reflect on God's mercy and where he pulled us from. So that's kind of the theme of the episodes that I want to give it. And basically, the message I want to convey is what impact the church has had on your life. Is what I want
yes,
to
yes,
what I
yes,
want to squeeze out of you, right?
yes,
To
yes,
share that story. What positive impact or has the church had on your life? The doctrine, the teachings of the apostles, you know,
yes,
and that alone, just like right now. I mean, I could
yes,
literally put this out there, cut out a few parts, and this is a show. I mean, who's not gonna
yes, yes.
be?
Who's not gonna like?
It's
And,
beautiful, you know. Just those
and
few short testimonies are beautiful.
the thing is, brother, that you know, when, like you said, you know, to think of where the Lord took us out from. Okay, you know, when I talk to the brothers that are out, you know, they've strayed away, you know, which I have a lot of compassion for, because you know, they're also struggling. They also need encouragement. But they need to see. They need to hear the testimonies that, you know, where you're at, where you've been. I've
Yeah,
also been there.
right.
I've also, and it's one of those things that you cannot tell Brother Isaias
Yeah,
that you're happy out there in the world,
yep,
that you're happy with the drugs, with the heroin, the
yep.
meth, the coke, the weed, the
The money,
pills, the ecstasy, the money,
yeah. The
the jobs.
cars, the women, yep,
I've been through all
yep,
that, brother. You know,
yeah,
maybe not the money as much, but you know, there was money there.
Yeah.
You know, but even like that, that's why when the apostle said about that famous, even with all that he had, he gave me the to think that, con todo eso, he was still sad.
Yeah.
He was still only, and like you said earlier, like the Lord said, the peace that this world gives is not the same peace
Yeah.
that I give.
It's
Like,
false. Yeah.
yes,
It's totally
and
false.
you and I know, that being that we were out in the world, the enemy can't fool us that quick no more.
Yeah.
We say, yes, come and try
Oh
this.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Because,
Yep.
that would be like me going back to my vomit, like that
Yeah.
dog that saves the vomit and eats it
Exactly.
later.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was seeing.
That's the definition of it. Yeah.
Yes.
And the difference between staying away from that and going back to that is either we're living in the spirit or we're living
In the
trying
flesh.
to give a little bit to the flesh and what it wants.
Flesh.
Yeah, well, that's good, but I think it's all great content because, I mean, like us when we were youth, and I hear my parents, when they were youngsters, and probably everyone can say this just like our teens can say it today, they think that we as adults don't get it or don't understand. The time's different. The situation might vary a little bit, but it's like the servant of God's told us, the enemy, he uses the same tactics over and over and over.
Yes.
And why does he keep using them? Because they work.
We fall.
Yeah, they work. And I tell my kids, I said, Satan's been at his game a lot longer than we have. He's perfected his game.
Yes.
We're just here for a short time, but he's been here doing the same thing forever, but we have the knowledge and the tools to even be stronger and more powerful and triumph over him. It's all in our tool bag. We just got to pull it out as we need it. Right now I'm working on this construction and I need a hammer and a saw, but later on I'm going to need, I don't know, a jackhammer or something,
Yes.
Well, you don't pull it out till you need it. Right now, we're going through a time where the servant of the Lord said the Lord wants to teach us patience, and our faith is being tested in different ways. Well, that's when we pull out those teachings, about persevering no matter what comes our way in life, and so I think it's going to be a message that members and listeners of every age will find beneficial if they have an ounce of concern for their life, serving God, or their life that's going to continue after this one.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. So I think we'll end it there, brother.
All right, brother.
I mean, we can keep going forever, but
there's a lot. There's a lot, and yes, as a thought, yes, as a thought.
I'm sorry. Go ahead,
before you let go, also, I don't know where we want to put this in, and just to give, because like you said, I want to also say, but when one incident that happened one time when obviously when I was in the world, and at one time I had so many pills with the methadone, everything I was mixing in, right?
Yeah.
I came to my house really late at night, it was like 2 a.m, 3 a.m. My wife, I went downstairs because it was a 2-story house. I went inside, and I remember going to the sofa and just relaxing, trying to go to sleep, right? But then all of a sudden I felt somebody patting me down. And I remember that I had my stash in my socks. And all I could remember was that I heard the toilet in the restroom right near there where I was laying, that got flushed. And I remember she found my pills. Let me go over there and stop her from flushing my pills.
Yeah.
I went over there, brother. And you want to know what I did, brother? Just to give you a thought how bad I was. The pills that were flushing in that toilet where people poop, I went in there, brother, and tried to rescue as much as I could.
Wow.
I grabbed them from there, brother.
Yeah.
Grabbed them from there, and for somebody to do that, think,
Yeah.
This is where people poop.
Yeah.
But that wasn't a thought, that wasn't
Yeah.
that wasn't in my thought. My thought was to rescue as many as I could, so that they
Yeah.
won't lose, they won't get lost.
Yeah, and that's where the Lord, like you say, that's where the Lord lifted you from.
Amen, brother.
Literally from the
Think,
waist, from
but
the
yes,
waist.
brother.
Yeah,
El fango era mi hogar.
yeah. And brother, and we haven't even gotten to the blessing that the Lord has given you up to today. So that's gonna be,
Yes,
definitely something to include on the next one, because we'll leave that as a cliffhanger. But definitely want to, eventually get to that.
yes,
you know, Not only did the Lord rescue you from where you were and kept you safe even during all that time in His mercy and planned to bring you back, but He also blessed you in a great manner too. Just like we know the story of the prodigal son. He just
yes,
didn't come back and his father put him as another servant. He blessed him in a great manner también, So
yes,
that'll be
brother.
something beautiful to share too when we
Yes,
continue.
brother.
So
Yes.
may the Lord allow us that opportunity, prolonging our life and health, so we can share these testimonies, and hopefully this
Amen,
will be the
brother.
beginning of many more to come.
I feel that it is, brother. I feel that it is. I
Yeah.
feel excited about it. I feel that just not so long ago, use the technology as a platform to give
Yeah.
testimony.
Exactly.
This is the
Exactly.
time, brother.
Yeah.
Everything is in perfect time, God's perfect time, brother.
Yeah.
So I feel
And
I feel in my heart that this is it's gonna
yeah.
be something big. It's gonna be part of evangelization as well.
Yeah. I know when I first took interest to it more was when I started hearing, more and more how the servant Lord Brother Samuel said that the future evangelization was in technology,
Technology.
through
That's so
social
true.
media,
Yes.
basically. And I've never really, I mean, this is, like I've said, this is the first time I'm doing anything with podcasts. It's never really called my attention. But now that I see that it's a platform that you don't have to be stuck in front of a screen. You
Yes.
can be listening to it in your car. You can be listening to it at work, wherever. You don't have to be stuck in front of a monitor.
Right.
Um, and I believe it's their files, audio files that you can download and save to your devices. So they'll
Well,
have them there. So I'm learning. I'm still learning as I go, but I think it's another awesome platform that the Lord's allowing us to utilize for,
amen.
expansion of His gospel and sharing these testimonies, so we can give our members, like the kind of the title, the name of the podcast show, light, the light from the inside, because
Yes.
there's a lot of negativity and false conceptions out there in the social media world, the World Wide
Correct.
Web, about
Yes.
who the Light of the World Church is and the members. But this gives the members a platform to where their voice can be heard, firsthand from an insider of the Light of the
Yes.
World Church, of the way the church and the doctrine has impacted our lives, our families, for the good and in many beautiful ways. So I
Correct.
can't wait to get this thing rocking and rolling.
Yeah, brother.
Yeah, I like it too, brother, because it's, like I said before, it's a more relaxed way to share our testimonies. It's not,
All lies on
it's
you.
an informal way. Right now I'm seeing you on screen, but again, we're not going to, the idea of the podcast is you're not going to be stuck in front of
Yes. You're
a
gonna just
video.
be.
It's just your testimony in a more relaxed setting and platform. So it's awesome. I can't wait.
Yes, brother. Me
Yeah.
too.
Any final words, brother?
No, well, God pay you, brother. God pay you for I could be here all day, brother. Just sharing what God has done
Amen,
with me.
brother. Amen.
I could be here all day. When it talks about when you talk about the love of God, through the apostle Jesus Christ, there's a lot we could say. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm just excited about it. And like you said, you caught my attention when you said, you could give with this platform. You're gonna, but from the inside, it came to my mind right now when you were saying that, because not so long ago I spoke to a cousin of mine, which was sadly he fell from the grace of God. He was also born in church, but I asked him about my other primos, and he's like, "Yo, they're not talking to me," and I'm like, "Oh, wow, what's going on?" Well, it's because I told them that this man has been lying to us, that the teaching and the doctrine. So when he told me that, I stay shut.
Wow.
So I said, you know what, let me come back to that, what he said. So I let him talk, and I said, okay, look, Primo, let me tell you one thing. I think you should think of what you're saying before you say it, because I come from out there.
Right.
What I know here, what I've learned here, is much better than what I learned over there.
Yeah.
And you're telling me that here in the church, because I don't steal and I don't smoke and I don't drink and I don't sleep around and I don't use drugs, that I'm doing bad. Okay, weigh it out. Think about what you're saying. But like you said, it's going to be a platform to let people know that we're not a cult. No, we're not. We know what we're doing, and we know what we believe in, and we know why we're doing it, because we want to please our Heavenly Father.
Amen.
And that's if there's something wrong with that, then we got to think who's doing bad.
Yep. And we can probably give you the best definition of what a cult really is.
Yes.
So you have individuals sometimes trying to infiltrate, quote unquote, to find out the truth, what the inside of the Light of the World Church really is. But, hey, we're right here. We are on the inside, and we're here to, tell everything we know about life on the inside of the Light of the World Church. It's beautiful. It's everyone's welcome, to come. And doors are wide open as soon as our temple's open. And, meanwhile, reach out to us in social media, however you can, to find out more. We have our daily prayers uploading and published 3 prayers a day, So, we are here and we are growing. And what can we say about after this social distancing is behind us and the pandemic is over? We can only imagine the blessings that we're going to be a witness to, including the rest of this world, of how the Lord has abundant blessings waiting for the Light of the World Church and all those who are interested in finding out more about us. So God pay you, Brother Isaias, for giving me this time. And like I said, hopefully you're this is the first of many more to follow. And
Amen.
And as many as the Lord will allow us, we'll continue.
Amen, brother.
Yeah, so on that note, brother, if you know of any other brothers, that got a beautiful testimony to share, get them on the list. I don't know, maybe even you can help me somehow later, keeping track, because I got so many things going on right now,
Yes.
I don't know if I can handle any more record keeping,
There's a lot of work.
I can't imagine how the servant of the Lord feels with everything he wants to do and get done.
Yes.
If we feel like 24 hours is just not enough in a day, I can't imagine, but whatever we can contribute and collaborate with his goals, with those goals in mind, if there's one or two that these testimonies will benefit and be a life-changing experience for them, perhaps in their life, then praise be to God, because that's the sole intention behind it,
Amen. Amen.
To bring others to the light, at least to say, just come get to know us. We're not telling you come and convert, just get to know us, just get to know truly who the Light of the World is from true living members and witnesses, not from all the negative hearsay and opinions,
Right.
So follow us in social media, follow the podcast, and there's a lot more to come with the help of the Lord.
Amen. Amen. And yes, I would definitely be glad to be able to contribute in a way that, I'm gonna think but testimonies. There's a lot of beautiful testimonies out there, anything it would, I guess, a testimony in itself, it's beautiful because it's their lives, it's what God has done in their lives.
Yeah.
So that's all positive, I'm all for it, brother. I'm all for it,
Well, God pay you again, brother.
Yeah.
What we're doing, I think the Lord's, blessing us, because I feel really good about it. But we'll be in touch. Well, as you heard in our final words, Brother Isaias has another beautiful blessing to share with you. So stay tuned for the follow-up podcast of this discussion to hear the rest of his beautiful testimony. I am the executive producer of The Footsteps of My Life, with music in this episode provided by Givolta Productions. I welcome all comments and reviews and encourage you to subscribe and follow the Light from the Inside podcast to hear additional testimonies and life experiences firsthand from those of us on the inside of the Light of the World Church. For more great content, visit TLOTW.org and be sure to visit my Light and Fortitude Productions YouTube channel. May God bless and reward you for hearing this message.